So one of the things that I'm going to do today, whilst I've got a break in the weather, apparently just a couple of hours before we get more rain, and then the forecast is pretty much rain for the rest of the week. So I'm going to get some spraying done on the outside of the polytunnel. I've only got very little amount of this organic spray left, but I'm going to use it. I just need to tighten down. I can't do the inside because, well, we've got the silky hens in there, but I'm certainly going to try and do the outside and see if I can get it underway, because there's certainly a lot of algal growth on the outside. It's taken a little bit to seal this, and there's always a danger coming in the top. There's always a danger that your seals have gone during the winter months. In this case, it sounds like it just needed a bit of a tighten up, but check your seals before you put a load of liquid in. Mine seem to be okay. Right, let's get to the outside of the polytunnel and see where the worst areas are. Now we do this, of course, because it enables more light to get in the polytunnel. And you can see here on the outside there is just a load of algae. So I'm going to do all this fascia and see if I can get that algae to die off, and then it will just wash off in the rain. So doing this just ahead of rain is probably the best idea, as long as it's not going to be torrential and wash everything off. But this should give it a good couple of hours to soak in before that rain starts to do its work for me. So quite simple, just a fairly liberal spray of all the green areas, and hopefully this couple of litres will just go far enough to do the job. Of course, as soon as you put this on a polytunnel, or a greenhouse for that matter, it just wants to run off. So the best thing is to do the top half of your greenhouse or polytunnel and let it soak down through the side and through the algal growth, and that way you don't waste too much. It never hurts to check the outside of your polytunnel for any damage, and I can see here I've got a cane that's just starting to impinge on the polythene, so I need to get in and get that out so I don't get a hole. I guess the algal growth is dependent upon which way the side of your greenhouse or polytunnel face, but this is certainly the worst side for me. So just going to check. Yeah, it is on the outside, and I'm going to give this a good spray. I've only got a couple of litres of this, so I just need to go careful. And I've noticed whilst I'm round here how much weed growth I've got, and I need to get thinking about clearing that as well before it gets cracking, because once it gets underway the roots get down and it gets that much bigger a job. So don't spray yourself while you're doing it. And this should do a good job of work for allowing more light in, because a lot of that green algae will block an awful lot of light as the season goes on. It looks like I'll have enough to do this. And as the weeks go on now, and certainly in the next week or so, I'll come back and show you what this has done, because it's usually quite effective and saves an awful lot of elbow grease. Alternatively, you can use a bucket of soapy water, but it does take a lot longer, and well, I just want to spend my time doing the other things that need to be done on the plot at the moment. And one of those things, of course, is the raspberry bed digging on my no-dig plot. Well, this doesn't look too bad. I was worried that it was going to be incredibly wet. I learnt my lesson and turned the wheelbarrow over because I was constantly emptying it. So that's a bit of a quick start. Let's get that over there. And as the rain comes down, so it reveals a few weeds that I've been exposing. I'm going to take these ones off the surface because as I dig, they just fall into what I've dug. And I'm going to do a couple more strips on here today. See if I can get past halfway that psychological battle of digging. Right, here goes. Well, I need a bit of a breather from that. So I'm going to take these few broccoli bushes, purple sprouting broccoli. I'm getting tangled up here. There we go. And feed them to the chickens. Well, 2 of them anyway. So, somewhere here, I think I put my secateurs. There they are. Just going to cut these ties I put in and pull them out. And these fed us well, but they're well and truly over now. So chicken feed they become. And the chickens absolutely adore them. Right, some for the little ones and some for the big ones. Gloves on. And I pick up all the little bits of leaf that have fallen, and that'll go on the compost bin because, well, it's not ideal for the chickens. Onward. I've got to be honest and tell you that I'm finding it very difficult to just carry on as normal whilst there are millions of people in Ukraine who are in danger and are suffering. And last night Mrs. K and I made a contribution to the Red Cross, and that's a fast way of giving what little help we can. And all I can do is say to you, if you've got it in your heart to do the same, then it's very easy to do. All right, I'm going to put this plank in, which I found in the garden, and it's a little bit worse for wear, but I suspect that this edge is going to be troublesome because of weed. So I'm just going to get down, dig myself a bit of a groove and see if I can bolster the barrier between this little brick path and the rest of the bed, because that, I think, is a weak spot. Right, I'll carry on digging for a while and I'll bring you back when I get to laying it in. Well, that's looking a lot better. I got myself a little bit of an air gap between the bricks and the plank. That'll help to prevent weed ingressing into the bed. And I will keep that sloping method that I detailed in my last video, because that will also help the weeds not to get into the bed. So I'll shape that more when I get to just breaking this down and making it a finer tilth. Well, meanwhile, I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking about my potatoes. They're chitting, they're doing well, but I've still got a couple of barrels here. One or two of these might be empty, but I'm just going to empty all of these now, release the pots, because the next job that I'll be doing in a week or two towards the potato season will be just tidying this area up, recovering the membrane that's moved around, and possibly resiting the garlic, which are doing really well there. But we just need to get this organized, and the first step is to get those last few potatoes out. I'll show you what I've got when they're out. Okay, that's done, and we're getting a bit clearer. We've got a really good compost bin full of old potato compost. I fed most of that already. I will add a bit more feed to the top a little bit later, but that's going to be a good proportion of what I'll use in the new potatoes. And that composter over there likewise is 3/4 full. So between the two of them, I've got most of the compost that I'll need for potatoes. So let's have a look at the potatoes I've just taken out. Well, there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is Wilja potato, which is covered in scab and looks like it's, well, got a dreadful disease, and it has. I will peel these and use them, because once you take the surface off, they're still usable and they're firm. Just very unattractive and a little bit more work than the good old Charlotte. And that is nearly a year on since I planted them. And this is the last crop I've taken out of the ground or out of the pots. And they will be absolutely perfect. There's a few marks on them, but that's amazing. And I just can't stress enough how good Charlotte is as a potato. And that's what I'm growing completely for the next year. No other potato, because this, well, it's just not good and not efficient, and I really do want to eat all the potatoes I grow. So the compost that came from these Wilja potatoes has not gone into my compost reserve, because I don't want to spread scab through the soil, and the compost from these has. Well, there's a bit of rain in the air now, so that's a sure sign that I need to move on a bit more rapidly. That's not going to do very well there. Try that. So one more strip, I think. Let's see if I can get past halfway and feel like I'm getting towards the end. What I am taking into consideration is this path along here needs to come to about there. So I think my next job, after I've dug this strip, probably tomorrow or maybe at the end of the week, will be to form this continuation of this grass path, just to allow it to settle for a little while I carry on with the turning over of the soil. And to do that, I need to take a bit of soil out and create myself a ridge, just so that I can see where it's going to be. But that's for later. Let's get on with this first. Well, that's me done for today. It's been a physical one again, but I don't mind. It's been good. And I hope you've enjoyed today's video. And if you did, why not like and subscribe? And, well, share this video with as many people as you can and spread that message to help those people in Ukraine. Have a good one.